Welcome to this lecture. This lecture will be fun lecture because we are going to cover a lot of thing in this lecture about the variable scope and packing and unpacking the arguments. So let's just start defining some function. So I'll say info function, and the normal function I'll just create the variable with v as, let me say, 45, and let's print this v value. So v is, okay, what am I doing? So let's format it first. V is, and you can simply pass with the format method, and let's say v. So this is inside the info method. So when you just call info, it is going to give us the straightforward v value. V is 45, but again, if you see that v value would be, okay, v value, I'll just say v is 56. Okay, so v is 56 over here, and now I'm just calling this same right here. So if I save this, then you will see v is 45 and 56. So that means the value or the variable has the local scope inside this function only. So if you see, this v is not visible over here. So if I just remove this v, if I save this, press F5, it is going to give us a error, v is not defined, because this is because of this error. If I just comment this out, then it is not going to give us any error. It is showing that v is 45. Because of this statement where we have to get the value of v, this v was defined inside the function, but this v is not visible outside of this function. So if I want to print any value that is v, or if I want to say y 89, okay, if I want to say again y, it is also not visible, because this y is visible inside this function only. Outside this function, this is not visible, because this has the local scope inside this function, and outside this function this is not visible. But what if I just say v is 45, and I'll just omit out this statement. Now if I save this and just remove this one too, again save this and press F5, then it will show us v is 45 again, because this v which is declared outside of this function has the global scope. That means this is visible inside this function, outside this function, everywhere. But if you create any variable, any data structure that is inside this function, it has the local scope. It won't be visible outside that function. Just remember that. This is the important thing that you need to take care, because a whole lot of error can arise because of this concept that beginner don't understand about this variable scope that is inside the function will be visible inside the function only. Outside that function, it will be invisible, because it has the local scope, not the global scope. Now let's see about the concept, which is packing and unpacking the arguments. First of all, let's see the unpacking the argument. Let me save this, run my console. So first of all, if I say something like print me, okay, it should be print me the numbers. I'll say 3, 4, 5. If I print this, you can see that there's a space, there is unpacking. So print statement has something that is attribute. I have already shown you in the previous lectures that if we say something like print me 3, 4, 5, we have this scp and the end command here. So if I say sep, which is the separation between each of these numbers, would be, instead of just this space, I want to add dollar in between each of these elements that is passed in the print method. You'll see dollar will be added inside each of this element. So this is the packing, or basically unpacking. Let's see some example. I'll say number 4, 5, 6 and 7 are the numbers. Now let me just print this with unpacking. So unpacking of the argument can be done with the single asterisk, just remember that, and just pass here number, and if I just print this, you can see there is unpacking. If I just print the number, there is no unpacking. This is simply a list, but if you want to unpack, you should pass the asterisk and the variable. Okay, we have to print this first and we have to pass over here, and you could see that there is unpacking of the number, which is not in the case when we just print the list. So this is the unpacking where we just unpack the list. So now let's see the packing the argument. So packing the argument will be implemented by the function. So let's create the function that will add the multiple number. So till now what we have learned is to add the numbers as the form of a parameter. So if I say print a addition of b, this is completely valid. I'll just call 5 6 or 3 5. If I print f5, the f5, this is going to give us a number. If I say 8 9 8 5, this is also going to give us a number. What if I say I want to add 6 7 8 6 7 again 6, I want to add this number. So Control S and press F5. It is not going to give us any result because I have already shown you before that it takes 2 positional argument but 8 were given. Here this argument was 8 were given, but this 8 will be gone to the A, this 5 will go to the B, but we don't have any further parameter which can hold this bunch of numbers. So if you want to do, you can do something like C, you can do D, you can do E, F and G and something like that, but it is not a practical way. So let's pack this argument so as to define the new function. I'll say add, and now if you want to pass multiple argument, you simply put here a asterisk and let's call this args. You can call any number or any variable name, but I'll simply say args. So now what you need to do is simply call the total because we want to add these numbers. So for I in args, so args here is a tuple, so in the tuple we can just loop. So I'll just say total and add with the I, and at the last return that total for me, and now you can add multiple numbers. So I'll say so all bunch of these numbers. So let's save this, press F5. It is not going to give us any result because we haven't print over here. So let's print this, save this first, press F5. It is going to give us a result straight away because we are just finished with packing our argument. So all of these numbers here will be converted as a tuple. So in this tuple we can loop. Every time it will take a number. So I will be 3 at first. It will add with the total, which is 0 plus 3, which will be 3. Now the total is 3. So in the next loop it will be 4 plus 3. It will just add continually all of these and it will just return the total, which is just printed over here. So this is the concept of packing the argument and looping through it and doing the operation inside this loop. So this is the important way to pack the arguments, and we'll learn the bunch of a concept in the upcoming lectures about the Python. See you in the next one.